So you want to know if you're failing as a project manager. Well, here are the 5 signs to look out for and how to fix it. Hello YouTube family, welcome back to my channel. I'm Christina and this is Cultivated Chrissy. Now in today's video, we're talking about those 5 signs that you need to be looking out for that could possibly indicate whether or not you're not doing your best work as a PM, okay? I don't want to say failure, but maybe things are starting to go downhill and we need to get back on track. So here are those 5 signs that you need to look out for and how to fix it. Let's jump right into it. So the first indicator that things are probably going a little downhill is that nobody knows the purpose of the project, what you're trying to accomplish, and why. Okay, you're probably hearing questions all the time like, why are we even doing this? What is the purpose of this again? What are we even trying to accomplish? Okay, if you're hearing those questions, there's definitely a problem and you want to make sure that you address it, because if you don't, people, if they don't understand the purpose, they don't want to devote their time and resources to it. And then you're going to deal with resistance and other things in your project along the way, okay? And this definitely leads to some of the other issues that I'm going to be getting into. If you ever heard of the term buy-in, okay, then this is where that comes in. You want to make sure that you have stakeholder buy-in. Okay, and this just means that everyone understands what the vision of the project is, they believe in it, right? And if they believe in it, they're not afraid to devote resources and time to it. They're not afraid to advocate for your project down the line if that's needed, right? You want to make sure that you have buy-in. So how do you get buy-in? Well, it really just starts with the project charter, okay? And even before that, if you do, or someone in your organization is a business analyst or someone does a cost-benefit analysis and the key stakeholders are aware of why this project is needed to solve a particular problem, it kind of starts there. And then you reinforce that with your project charter by making sure you're documenting that who, what, when, where, why, and how of your project, right? Answering questions specific to the project vision itself, so that everyone is aware and can constantly reference throughout the time of the project what the why is, what the purpose is, what you're trying to accomplish, all right? It's all laid out in the project charter, and that's why I say all the time, this is a very vital step and not one that you want to miss. Again, I have a video all about the project charter. I will link it in the cards and below, and of course there is a template also available for you guys. You can download it using the link below, but you're going to want to make sure that you get this project charter done, and during those meetings, right, any meeting that you have subsequently, you're going to want to make sure that at the start of it, you reiterate what the purpose of the project is, right? What you need in that particular meeting that will help to meet the goal. Okay, so what's the purpose? In this meeting, I need this particular thing, and that's going to help us do this thing in the project. Okay, that's the format. And you want to do that right up front. I put in my own meeting agenda the purpose and the outputs of the project right at the top. And I reiterate this at the start of every meeting. So nobody can say they don't know what we're doing or why. Okay, so that is how you fix that. So the second indicator is that there's a ton of scope creep on your project, okay? So what is scope creep? Well, that means that you have so many uncontrolled changes on your project that you are way off from the originally intended vision of the project, right? From the originally intended scope of the project. You're way off. And now you don't even know if you're going to actually meet the project vision. Major issue. As a PM, it is your job to make sure that you're meeting the goal, okay? So you want to try to mitigate scope creep as much as possible. Again, you want to look at your project charter, because your project charter defines your project parameters, right? You look at your SMART goal, your deliverables, what's in scope, what's out of scope, right? And you can think of it as a border, right? A nice little square. We don't do things that are outside of the square, okay? And if we do, we need to sit down with our project sponsor and our key decision makers or key stakeholders in the project and make sure that we understand what the impacts of this change is going to be, right? You can't just accept changes all willy-nilly, because then you'll have scope creep, okay? So you want to make sure you really understand what the implications of a change is going to be. And if it's going to be something that changes the scope, then you need to rescope the project, okay? Or have a serious conversation about whether or not we want to do this, right? And you do that with any change. If you have a change control board, then this would be the role of the change control board, right? They're essentially just a committee that reviews changes. They look at what the impacts of a change will be in terms of the triple constraint or scope, time, and resources, right? In terms of cost and personnel, that's your resources. And if not, if you don't have a change control board, then that's going to be your role as the PM, okay? But you want to make sure that you're looking at the impacts of changes that take place on your project, and you're not just accepting that. So if you are at a place where there's tons of scope creep on your project, how are you going to fix it? Okay. Hopefully you've documented the changes that take place. If not, then you're going to have to retroactively think about them, but hopefully you're documented it. And you're going to have to pull everybody together and say, these are the changes, these are the impacts that they had to the schedule, and we need to have a real conversation about either rescoping this project or removing some of these changes and going back to the originally intended plan, right? You got to get a hold of things if you're in this situation, and look at those changes deeply, okay? So that is how you fix that. So the third indicator, okay, that you're probably not doing the best job as a PM is that no one knows what's going on with the project. Okay, people are constantly asking what's going on, where are we with this? And they're probably doing that because they don't know when to expect a report out on this, right? It hasn't been communicated to them that they're going to receive a report out at this meeting or via this email that's going to be sent at this frequency, whatever the case may be, right? And so that is how you fix that. You want to make sure that you have a communication plan that has been documented and shared with your team, right? They need to know what information am I going to receive? How often am I going to receive it? What forum I'm going to be receiving it in, okay? Or method for receiving that information. They need to know that so that they're not constantly asking you where things are, right? They already know when they're going to receive it, okay? So you want to put together a communications plan. As far as what goes into the communications, right? Your CFO may want different information from your project sponsor versus your project team member versus the VP of the organization, right? People need different information. So try to document maybe in a table what the different data elements are that people need to see, and then you can figure out where to combine things from there so that you can consolidate your reports and you don't have a ton of reports individualized to each person, okay? So make sure that you do that, and once you do that, put it together in a communications plan that says these are the stakeholders or the stakeholder groups, right? This is the report that I'm going to share with them. This is how often it's going to be shared. And this is the forum at which I'm going to share it, whether I'm going to send it in an email or share it at the weekly status meeting, or I'm going to join the directors meeting on Fridays and share it there. Whatever the case may be, let them know this is what you're getting and this is when you're getting it. Okay? That will eliminate that issue. The next indicator that things are probably not going that well is that you're having unproductive meetings, right? How do you know if your meetings are unproductive? Well, if you're walking out of meetings and you say to yourself, we didn't accomplish anything, or we didn't get the intended output of the meeting, right? If your meetings are constantly being taken over and you never get to finish your agenda, then you're having unproductive meetings. And that's really important, right? Because you have a lot of meetings during a project. And yes, some things could be an email, right? We can't stand meetings sometimes, but they are very important. And when you're in them, right, you're reporting out on information, you're having working sessions, right? Actually getting certain things done. And so you want to make sure that when you have these times scheduled, and you intend on getting a particular output, that you get that at the end of it, right? You're having a productive session. But here's how you can fix that. Well, one, you're going to make sure that you have an agenda, okay? For each and every meeting, you're going to want to make sure you put together an agenda and you send that out in advance. At the top of your agenda, make sure that you have a purpose statement written out, okay? And you also list out the output of the meeting, right? So this is why we're meeting today, and this is what we hope to get out of it. But basically, once you get into the meeting, you're going to do something called an upfront contract, okay? What does that mean? Well, you're going to go through what the purpose is, okay? This is why we're here today. Going through the output, this is what I hope to get out of it, and this is how it's going to fit into the larger vision of the project, right? I'm going to go through an overview of the agenda. This is what we're talking about. These are the topics, okay? And then you're going to say, we have an hour of time to discuss this. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, is everyone in agreement? and get started. Okay, this is an upfront contract. You're just going through the purpose, going through what you need from them, going through the agenda, giving them time for questions up front so that everyone's aware we have a plan. Okay, we have to stick to the plan of this meeting because we need to get something out of it. And upfront contracts really allow for the meetings to be a little bit more productive. So you want to make sure you're doing that. So my next indicator that maybe you're not doing the best job, but it's totally fixable, is that you're probably getting a lot of resistance on your project, right? And this could be during the actual implementation of the project or once the project is done, right? Once you have that service or product or software, whatever the case may be, whatever that change was, whatever that new thing was that you're doing as part of this project, maybe you're facing resistance on the uptake of that, right? And that's definitely problematic because you want whatever change that you do to actually stick, right? You want people to take it and use it and be happy with it. And you're probably facing resistance because people don't understand the purpose of the project. They don't understand what this is all meant to do. And they probably think that this is all just going to make their job harder, right? This is a change to my role and it's going to make things harder, right? So you want to talk to them in a manner that helps them to understand what's in it for them, right? How is this going to help you be more efficient and better at your job, right? How does this meet the overall vision of the organization and how we're trying to move things forward, right? Help them to understand that. There is a particular system that can help you to fix this issue, okay? That system is called ADKAR, okay? And I'm going to put it up on the screen, but essentially ADKAR is a change management protocol, right? It's the people side of change. I've talked about this in a previous video, right? But the people that need to change as part of this project, right? Or the people that are implementing the project and have to change how they're operating in their day in order to work on the project, we want to make sure that they are aware of what's going on, that they have a desire to support this change, and that they have the tools necessary to actually support that change, and you're going to reinforce it. So let's put ADKAR up on the screen so that you can see what it is and how it could really help guide you into having this conversation and implementing it into your communications plan, right? Incorporating it there so that you can decrease the resistance on your project. So ADKAR, this is an acronym, right? And it stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, okay? Awareness tells you the need for the change, right? And you're just going to communicate this. We're going to make people aware of what this project is, okay? And then desire, this is to help people to support the change that's taking place, right? We're going to, at this point, talk about what's in it for you. How is this going to help you do your job better? How is this going to make you work faster, right? How is this going to help the overall vision of the organization and what we're trying to do, right? This is how you're going to be speaking to them from a point of desire, right? Next is knowledge on how to change, right? How are we going to implement this change? If you're working on the project, how you're going to do that. We're going to talk through that and come up with a strategy, right? If it's after the implementation, how is your day-to-day going to change in order to do this new change, okay? The next one is ability. We're going to talk about the skills needed, right? The behavior changes needed to actually do the change. We're going to talk through that and we're going to actually train on it, right? We're going to make sure, right? This step is all about making sure that people have the tools to do the change. And then at the end, you're going to reinforce that, right? You're going to constantly do that. This is a cycle, making sure that everything sticks, okay? So that is ADKAR. That is how you fix that particular issue. So if these things are happening on your project, make sure that you implement the fixes that we talked about today. Try to get ahead of it, try to get things organized and back on track. There's actually a ton more of these types of indicators. So if you have some, comment down below. Maybe we could do a part 2. Like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more videos on how to master the role of a PM. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.